Okay, so let's dive in. The year is 2026. And the manifesto I'm looking at right now says the university core is, and this is a quote, evaporating.
It's a pretty violent image to start with, isn't it?
It is, but we're not talking about some, physical explosion.
No, not at all. Though the visuals and the source material really play with that idea.
Absolutely. No, this is about an existential evaporation. We're doing a deep dive today into something called the Great Restoration. It's this whole collection of materials, a storybook, a manifesto called 24 Bursts. Some pretty heavy essays.
And they all center on this radical idea for education, this next schoolhouse.
Right. And the central premise, well, it's going to sound terrifying if you've spent your life chasing grades.
Or degrees, or any kind of certification, really. The premise is this. Intelligence is no longer a mountain you have to climb. It is a manufactured resource.
A manufactured resource.
Like electricity.
Or salt.
Precisely. The argument is that we've shifted from an age of scarcity, where being smart was rare and valuable, to an age of just absolute abundance of information.
Yeah, if an AI can pass the bar exam or write code better than most juniors,
then just knowing things isn't the value proposition anymore.
Which, that begs the huge question we're trying to get at today. If intelligence is cheap, if it's a utility, what on earth are humans for?
That's the mission. That's the whole point of this deep dive, to figure out that shift from what the text calls the age of accumulation
to the age of judgment. Okay, so let's meet the cast of characters here. We have a few key figures. First, Professor Marshall. He seems to be the architect of all this.
Right. He's the voice of the old world, sort of guiding the transition. The text has this very specific aesthetic for him, like Kodak gold 200 tones, a sharp suit. He grounds it all.
And then you have the Envoy, Frigg.
The AI. But she's not, the Terminator.
No, not at all.
She's described as this crystalline entity of pure information. She's the signal.
And then there's Leo.
And Leo is the important one.
He's us. He is the learner.
Right.
He's called a silent genius, 4.0 GPA, does everything by the book.
Yeah.
But he hasn't spoken in class for 2 years.
That detail is just devastating. Think about it. He is the perfect product of our current system. He absorbs, he retains.
They comply.
Exactly. But in this new world, the text calls him a servo mechanism to his screens. He's basically just a peripheral for his own laptop.
Ouch. Servo mechanism.
Oh.
That hits hard. Okay, so the story is about Leo trying to stop being a hard drive and start being something else.
Right.
Let's go back to that evaporation, the death of the lecture hall.
The opening scene in the Gems Storybook is it's wild. You have this classic mahogany lecture hall. You can almost smell the old paper. And then Professor Marshall snaps his fingers.
And the whole thing just dissolves into golden digital dust.
Yeah, it's so cinematic.
But what is it really saying symbolically?
It's about what they call ontological weight. The university used to have this heavy physical authority. You went to the place to get the knowledge.
Right.
But the Envoy, the AI, tells Leo, knowledge is a utility as common as the sun.
And if knowledge is sunlight, you don't need to pay tuition to stand in it.
You've got it. And that's the economic argument. In a scarcity economy, you pay for access. In an abundance economy, access is basically free. The university loses its monopoly.
So the lecture is obsolete.
If it's just about transferring information, yes, it's totally obsolete.
But Marshall takes it further. He says, when data is free, judgment is the only currency. I want to dig into that because judgment feels like a vague word. What does he mean?
Well, he contrasts it with productivity. For 100 years, we've been obsessed with productivity. How much can you produce per hour?
But AI has solved that. It can generate infinite output, 1,000 essays in the time it takes you to blink.
That's velocity. And there's a line in the 24 Bursts manifesto, velocity without direction is noise. The text even shows this vibrating scatter plot diagram. That's what AI plus no human intent gets you.
Just more noise faster. This brings me to my favorite concept in the whole thing, the hollow prompt.
It sounds like a bad indie band.
It really does.
Yeah.
But the definition is so sharp, if you lack domain depth, your prompts are hollow.
And this is the key takeaway for anyone using AI right now. So many people think AI levels the playing field, that a novice is now equal to an expert. Marshall argues the complete opposite.
How so?
He says the machine is trained on the average of all human data. It seeks the center.
So if I have a generic question,
You get a generic answer, the average. The machine seeks the center, the human has to seek the edge. You need that domain depth to know when the AI is just being mediocre or even hallucinating.
so the hollow prompt is asking for a masterpiece without having the vocabulary to even describe it.
Precisely. And that's where the teachers, the guides come in. They mention the ancestors, these ghosts that haunt Marshall's office.
So it's a weird dinner party. Marshall McLuhan, Geoffrey Hinton, and Stanley Kubrick.
Very weird mix.
A media theorist, a computer scientist, and a film director. Why those three?
They're a triad. McLuhan is the prophet of the electronic age. The medium is the message. Hinton is the architect of the signal, the godfather of deep learning. He is the raw engine.
Okay, that makes sense. But Kubrick, why the director of 2001?
Kubrick is the architect of the frame. Think about a Kubrick shot. Every single thing is intentional. In a world where AI can generate infinite garbage, you need that sovereign hand of a Kubrick to say, no, this is the shot, this is the frame.
It's about taste.
Taste as a survival skill. It's about exclusion. The AI includes everything. The master, the artist, excludes almost everything until only what matters remains.
Okay, so we have the theory, but this isn't just philosophy. The Next Schoolhouse is a real place in the story. They call it the Agora.
And they put it in the old Hudson's Bay department store in Toronto.
Such a deliberate choice. A department store.
The temple of the 20th century. The age of accumulation. You went there to buy things. Now it's boarded up, so they crack it open to build a city of light and logic.
The visuals are amazing, but it's the pedagogy that matters. Marshall says the lecture is the slowest way to learn.
He's attacking that whole transmission model. One person talking, hundreds listening. In the Agora, the slogan is, we don't grade, we build.
The rubric is dead. The prototype is alive. That is a massive, massive shift.
Think about Leo, the silent genius. In a lecture hall, silence is a virtue. In the Agora, it's a failure. There's this pivotal scene where Marshall challenges him. He says, it turns the I can't, and he just waits.
And Leo finally speaks. He says, into I haven't yet.
And his voice triggers the whole environment. The empty store just fills with this incredible, lush world. The metaphor is that the student isn't a container anymore. The student is a reality distortion field.
But that creates a huge problem for the system. Credentials. If there are no grades or tests, how do you prove you know anything?
This is prestige versus proof. Marshall's line is, we don't need prestige, we need proof.
And that's where we get that incredible image of a digital diploma dissolving in his hand.
And reforming as a physical, holographic electric car.
It's such a savage critique. A degree is just a claim. I promise I studied this. But in this world, claims are cheap.
The only thing that can't be faked is a working prototype. Can you build the car? Yes. You pass? No. The diploma is just paper.
The diploma is just a receipt for time spent. That line really stuck with me.
It's harsh, but it feels true. Competence has to be demonstrated, not just certified. And to do that, to really build something, you need what he calls the sovereign hand.
The hand in circuit. This is where it gets almost spiritual.
Well, it's about staying grounded. He warns that we can't just be prompt engineers floating in the digital ether.
We need friction. That's the word he uses.
Yeah, in the section, The Architecture of Taste. To command the digital, you have to master the physical. He talks about kneading bread, cutting wood.
The raw oak beam, verse 17.
Right. He touches this rough piece of wood, and it mechanically folds itself into this beautiful chair. The resistance of the material is the whole point.
Character cannot be downloaded. It is earned.
If you spend your whole life in the glow of the screen, you lose your sense of consequence. You need to know that if you cut the wood wrong, you can't just hit undo.
So the sovereign hand is that human agency that refuses to let the AI just autopilot everything.
It's intentionality. It's the refusal to compromise. The AI gives you a good enough chair. The sovereign hand demands this chair because it matters.
So how do they test for that? If there are no grades, how can you fail?
You face the crucible.
That sounds absolutely terrifying.
It's meant to be. It replaces the final exam. And the test is a simple question. Can you look another human in the eye and explain why your design matters?
It's so primitive.
Almost tribal.
He calls it retribalization. In a world where anything can be a deep fake, the highest trust interaction is looking someone in the eye and defending your work. It's not about what you memorized, it's about conviction.
It's a shift from what do you know to who are you?
Exactly. Your identity, your taste, your ethics, that becomes your primary asset. When the AI has all the knowledge, the human provides the why. Okay, let's go to the climax, the master alignment. We're back in the Agora, looking out at the city.
And this is where it all comes together. You see this signal, this glowing golden network. overlaid on the real physical city of Toronto.
And where the light touches the buildings, they heal. They get vertical gardens, solar skins.
It's the information restoring the physical world. Marshall places a seed of light into the grid, and the text says, the restoration is not just digital, it is the return of the human to the center of the square.
The return of the human. I think most people fear the exact opposite with AI.
Yeah.
That will be pushed to the margins.
Marshall flips that completely. He argues that when intelligence becomes a commodity, the human becomes more central, not less.
Because the machine can't choose.
It has no taste, no preference, no ethics, no desire. It can generate 1 million building designs, but it can't decide which one makes a city a better place to live. Only the sovereign hand can do that.
It's the difference between having infinite bricks and being an architect.
Perfect. The AI gives you the bricks, but you have to provide the blueprint and the purpose. Without that, it's just noise.
The Envoy says it to Leo at the end. She says his value is no longer in what he knows,
but in where you choose to point the light. That's the whole identity shift. For centuries, an educated person was a library. Now you're a flashlight. The value isn't the bulb, it's the aim.
I want to push on that, though. Being a flashlight sounds nice, but isn't it also easier? Does it let us off the hook?
Marshalls would say no, it actually increases the responsibility. He calls it the burden of judgment. When you can't say, I didn't know, because the knowledge is instant, you have no excuse for bad choices.
You can't hide behind ignorance.
Never again. You can only be judged on your choices. If you build something ugly or unethical, you can't blame the tool. You pointed the light there.
So the Great Restoration is about restoring the human to the center of the process.
It's about integration, using the signal to heal the terrain.
Which brings us to you, the listener. We're not in 2026. We're here now. So why does this matter?
Because the evaporation has already started, we all have that Envoy in our pocket. The barrier to creation has collapsed. The cost of making something is approaching zero.
So we are all Leo, standing in that empty room.
We are, and the question Marshall asks is the question for all of us. Will you just accept the easy, hollow echoes of the past? Will you let the AI generate average work? Or will you use this to create something with real weight?
You have to decide if you're a user or a creator.
A servo mechanism or a sovereign hand?
The story ends with a final line from the Envoy. It feels like an order. She says, the signal is true, the terrain has changed, go, and make it beautiful.
Make it beautiful, not profitable,
Yeah.
not efficient, beautiful.
That is a high bar.
It's the only bar left when utility is free.
So here's the question we want to leave you with. If the tools are infinite and the scarcity is over, what beautiful thing are you responsible for building?
Don't just prompt, build.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you in the Agora.